Right, welcome ladies and gentlemen. Interesting topic here, but former Superman actor Cain has basically come out and spoken over James Gunn's commentary on Superman being an immigrant. He says it's going to hurt the box office, and obviously questions, how woke is Hollywood going to make this character, which I think are worthwhile things to dive into and maybe add my 2 cents to it and add a bit of nuance to the conversation, hopefully. So I thought we'd dive into this today. Please do hit subscribe, turn the bell notifications on. And yeah, do hit subscribe if you're a returning viewer that's not yet subscribed. It'd be great to have you here more often. So this is interesting, right? Dean Cain was a Superman actor, or was a Superman as an actor. He often gets sidelined from a lot of this stuff because he's obviously more conservative leaning. But he gets sidelined from a lot of fan posts and things like that, again, because he is conservative leaning. But he's come out and spoken with respect, well, he spoke to TMZ about it apparently via Entertainment Weekly, that he's wary about how Hollywood is making the Man of Steel, quote, woke in James Gunn's upcoming Superman. Now, obviously, that's up for debate. I have heard multiple interviews and reviews and discussions from people where they say, no, he's not woke at all, actually. The main issue with this film is primarily its pacing. Allegedly, I don't know, I've not seen it. I watch this tomorrow, and I'll give you my review then, of course. But a lot of people have an issue with its pacing and just how wacky it is. No elements of political sort of ideology being thrown in there in a lot of the reviews. And a lot of people have an issue with what they've done to Superman's biological parents and their aim, their sort of, how they're portrayed, I guess. So I feel like Dean Cain's maybe a little bit off-center with this, with his commentary here. But I think it's justified on face value anyway. So basically says this. The movie has faced conservative backlash. This isn't what he's saying, sorry. But the movie has faced conservative backlash. This was even on Fox News. Ever since Gunn told the Times of London that Superman is an immigrant and the story of America. Now, those two things are actually completely true. I mean, he is an immigrant. Technically, not technically. He's been used as an allegory for, immigration. He's an unwilling immigrant, obviously. He was sent here outside of his means, as a baby. But they say this, he's the story of America. And I think that's quite interesting because I would go a step further and say that Superman's always been the quintessential immigrant. I know that'll rile people up, but it is true, right? Like, he is the best example of an immigrant, someone that ingratiates himself in American culture, because that's what Superman was. It was truth, justice, and the American way. Someone which is the best interpretation of an immigrant possible, and I think that's quite fair to say. Which actually does fly against what people want immigrants to be in this day and age, where we live in multi-culti society. There's, of course, the woke utopia, as it were. Now, he says this. How woke is Hollywood going to make this character? Cain said. How much is Disney going to change their Snow White? Why are they going to change these characters to exist for the times? For Superman, it was truth, justice, and the American way. Well, they dropped that, which is true. They did drop that. They came up with truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Changing beloved characters, I don't think is a great idea. If you want to create a new character, go ahead and do it. Now, I agree with these things. Apparently they've not made this character woke at all, though. Just as an FYI, to be objective about it. Again, I can't be fully objective because I've not seen it. But secondhand, people have said they've not made him woke, and the issues are mainly pacing and things like that. But it is true to say that why are you changing characters for the modern times? And I long have an issue with that. Because the modern times, it's all well and good to say, well, times change, so we have to update characters. But not fundamentally, not away from what their sort of core concept is. I think that's really lame. It's creatively bankrupt, and it's also just really quite subversive. So he says this. Superman has always stood for truth, justice, and the American way. And the American way is immigrant-friendly, tremendously immigrant-friendly, Cain continued. But there are rules. You can't come in saying, I want to get rid of all the rules in America because I want it to be more like Somalia. I mean, that's true. Well, that doesn't work because you had to leave Somalia to come here. There have to be limits, because we can't have everybody in the United States. We can't have everybody. Society will fail. So there have to be limits. Now, I completely agree with this. I don't disagree with any of this at all. And that is true, right? Like, Superman was the quintessential immigrant. And I think, unfortunately, that I don't know, because I've not seen the film, blah, blah, blah. But I think that flies in the face of what people want immigrants and sort of immigration to be in this day and age, right? Which is just multi-culti society. Everyone can have their own culture, little pockets of enclaves and all this kind of nonsense. And that, again, like I said, Superman, quintessentially, the quintessential version does fly in the face of what people want immigrants to be. So maybe that is why they dropped it. I don't know. But Dean Cain's not wrong here when he says that there are rules and you can't come in saying you want to get rid of the rules that make up the very foundations of America. I mean, at the end of the day, if you sort of import people and you import their cultures, is it really America at that point? Right? When they reach a critical mass, is it really England at that point? Is it really Italy? Is it really, name anywhere in the West that's having a massive issue with illegal immigration? Is it actually those host nations at that point when you've replaced all of the citizens? Probably not. Probably not. When Gunn said that Superman is an immigrant that came from other places and populated the country, MAGA supporters and conservative pundits were quick to react by saying that they would skip the movie. Fox News branded the film as super woke, as network host Jesse Waters wisecracked, "You know what it says on his cape, MS-13. We don't go to the movie theatre to be lectured to and to have somebody throw their ideology onto us." These are all perfectly fair statements, actually, to be honest. And Dean Cain said, "I think bringing Superman into it, I think that was a mistake by James Gunn to say it's an immigrant thing. And I think it's going to hurt the numbers of the movie. I was excited for the film. I'm excited to see what it is. I'm rooting for it to be a success, but I don't like that last political comment." Now, I agree. I will say this, though. I don't actually think that this is going to cause much of an issue at all. I think it being on Fox News, I think definitely does have a part to play in potentially causing a bit of an issue here. But there are a lot of people that were simply just never going to watch this film anyway, who are now saying, "Oh, I'm not going to watch it." So honestly, you were never going to watch it. I do think it inevitably having sort of partisan commentary of politically charged situations that either side are weaponizing against one another, I think undeniably will lead to issues with the box office. But I don't think it'll be as massive an impact as what people are thinking. So I thought it was an interesting topic to cover here. So there you go. I don't have much else to say, really. I think it is true that, he is an immigrant, but I think it's from the perspective, or should be from the perspective of him being the quintessential one. And Gunn's brother did no major damage control here. He actually added fuel to the fire. He says, "My reaction to the backlash is that it's exactly what the movie's about. We support our people, we love our immigrants. Yes, Superman is an immigrant, and yes, the people that we support in this country are immigrants. And if you don't like that, you're not American." I mean, that's just a dumb comment. Such a dumb comment. People who say no to immigrants are against the American way. That's dumb. That's dumb. That's really, really dumb. You can absolutely say no to certain immigrants and still be American, pro-America. If there are certain immigrants, I'm not saying there are, I don't know, but if there are certain immigrants that want to destabilize America, I mean, that's not... to say no to them is not exactly being anti-American, is it? That's utter drivel. But there you go. I thought this was interesting. I don't think this will actually impact the box office that much. I think the box office is going to... Well, I don't know, actually, to be fair. The updated results are interesting. I think this will either do good, because it's a Superman film and they always tend to do well, or I think that this will do middling. And if it does middling, I think this will absolutely show, undeniably now, that people are just sick of comic book movies. Superhero movies, should I say. Anyway, there you go. Leave your thoughts down below. Take care. Bye-bye now.